You're listening to Invited In with Christine Boyle, where disability and faith meet. Here's your host, Christine Boyle. You are invited in.
Hi guys, well, welcome to another episode of Invited In, now Disability and Faith. Don't forget that. I've rebranded a little, so it's Disability and Faith, Invited In with Christine Boyle. But hey, I am so excited to be back with you today, and I am recording from Studio Court, as you can tell, and I have a friend with me, dear friend, in studio with me today, which, like we were saying earlier, that doesn't happen very often that someone's actually with me in Studio Court. But I have my dear friend Betsy Stretar with me today. Hi, Betsy.
Hey.
So glad you're here.
We did it.
We did it.
Together.
It's been a year and a half we've been talking about this. I feel like that's like a recurring theme, is like you kind of know the people you want to have on the podcast, and then you talk about it for like well over a year, and then it finally happens. So that's been kind of the story of my life with this, but we're finally doing it, which I'm really excited about. And you guys have heard me, if you've listened to other episodes, you've heard me talk about my story, my experience as a teen mom, and this amazing woman who mentored me, came into my life at a really crazy time in my life. And that's this lady here. So we just thought it'd be awesome to get to share our story together, versus her sharing it when she gets to, me sharing it when I get to. We don't get to share it together very often. And so to get to do that, I think is just going to be not only a blessing for us, but hopefully a tremendous blessing for everyone listening. So we're just going to talk. I was just saying to Betsy, I really don't usually have notes or questions. I like things being super organic. So it's really just going to be what God puts on our hearts to share. And we're super excited. And you can't see this unless you watch on YouTube, but we have matching sweatshirts that say hope and a future from Jeremiah 29:11. And you're going to get to hear that verse has been kind of the verse that God has used in our friendship. And so we got these sweatshirts made, and they're super fun. So we're excited. All right. So we'll start. So why don't you just start off? You were a teen mom.
Yes.
And that is how this whole thing started. So tell us about that.
Wow. Okay. So we're going way back.
Yeah.
A lot of
years. And tell us yours too. So we know what we're looking at.
I was age 18. I was a junior in high school. I graduated a year early. I got pregnant the summer of my junior year, the spring of that year. So I was able to just wrap up my high school degree and finish up my senior year that summer. So I actually graduated a year early. But yeah, I was in a really tough relationship that went south. And God was using that to get me to a place of surrender where I would trust him with my future. And I was devastated. I was completely humiliated, overwhelmed with shame. And I grew up in a very good family, and felt like I'd really let my family down, and my parents especially, and myself. Yeah. Because I kind of was that kid that was like going to youth group. We had a local church, but I was living in the world as well. And those two worlds collided. Yeah. And it caused me to, take a look inside and what I had plans of going to New York to be a fashion designer. Yeah. I had been sewing since I was a very young girl, and I had aspirations of having a design business, and that plan changed. And I was my encounter with Jesus was very clear and very personal. I remember just being up in my bedroom one day. It was just me and the Lord, and I had my Bible open, and kind of was gathering dust for a long time, but I pulled it. I was so desperate to hear from God and to know that he was with me. And I opened it up to our favorite verse, Jeremiah 29:11. And it was the Lord was speaking so personally to me, and it was like my name was written there in the pages. And I'll quote the verse the way I heard it that day. And it was, Betsy, sweetheart, I know the plan I have for you. It's a good plan to prosper you, not to harm you, and a plan to give you a future and a hope. Well, those 4 words alone, not to harm you, to give you a future and a hope, and to prosper me, I was like, what? Like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
Look at the mess I've made.
Yes.
How can you turn this around, God? Like, but faith entered my heart, and I knew it immediately that it was like an exchange. And if you've ever been to a track meet where they're handing off the baton and you have to grab hold of it and start running, that it was that kind of exchange that, like, the Lord was saying, no, I know all that, but I have something else for you.
Yes.
And I had to take hold of it and say, I want that. Yes, I believe that. I believe you do, God. I 100% believe you do.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're going to pull this off, but I want that life. Like, and so I immediately felt, I repented. I asked the Lord to make me new and to forgive me for rebelling and doing trying to live my life without him. Yeah. So that was the turning point for me. And that was in 1977.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
I'm sure it wasn't like,
it was,
not that ever being a teen mom is popular or cheered for. But I mean, even just think about that. Like, what was it like in that? I mean,
it was really difficult. Of course, there's the social aspect of it.
Right.
I lost all my friends, and I was being pressured by the father of my child to have an abortion, and I was not at that place where I was already knew that I was in a place where I trusted God, and I had grown up in a pro-life family. I'm a product of 5 siblings. Life was valued. Parents were incredibly gracious to me. So that social part was a huge void, but I knew God was doing something. And so my mindset shifted from, I broke off the relationship because it was an abusive, very difficult relationship. And I knew, and, I gave him the opportunity. I said, listen, I'm following Jesus. If you want to come along, that's great, but that's what I'm doing. And if that's not something you want, then this is over.
Yeah.
And, but anyway, so that's what happened. And I broke it off, and, I'm not gonna, I don't know what was going through his head at the time, but he had, it wasn't obviously the path that God had for me. And, anyway, so there was, that settled that relationship. So it allowed me to now begin to put and trust my future into the Lord's hand. And I remember in my mind and in my heart, like, I'm just going to date Jesus. Like, that's what I want to do. I want to get to know Jesus and really get to know this person that just rescued me from myself.
Yes.
And has given me this promise to cling to. But Lord, I don't know you, and I want to know you.
Yes.
And not just the future, but I want to know you and understand your grace and your love and your healing. Because I obviously, had a lot of insecurities, a lot of healing that, I walked through in the next several years. So I had my little guy at age 17. And that December, and he's now going to be 48. this
Wow.
December. Yeah,
Wow.
crazy.
It's amazing.
Is that right? Is that my math right? Whoops. Like if I'm whatever, 25 minus 77.
Minus 70.
Is he going to be 48? Is that right?
I think so.
I think so.
25 minus 70.
Anyway, if he's not, I'm off a year.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, Todd, if you're listening.
You'll get to hear that she has 8 kids, so we got to give her some grace. Yeah. A lot of birthdays.
Yeah, remember what age they are.
Yes.
So, yeah. It was Todd and I.
Were you at home?
I was living at home with my parents and was still pursuing a fashion design. There was a design school in Cleveland called Virginia Marty College of Art and Design that I started attending. And it was an haute couture program, which was a high level skill set that I, was still going to pursue this. Well, I had a little bit of an interruption heading on into it. And to tell that story, and listen, I got to preface this by saying, I have a story and you have a story. We all have a story only God could write.
Yes.
Because I can't make this stuff up. Like,
Right.
Our story is our story.
Yes.
But God showed up in so many, that's what, I'm just never stops to amaze me, ceases to amaze me that, while we were yet sinners, Christ died with us and was putting all these things in place.
Yes.
So the backstory, my best friend in high school, Debbie, was going to the same vocational high school that I was going to on the east side. We took a train together, the Rapids Transit, and it was an all-girls school that was on the other side of town. And we were the minority at the school. So it was an awesome experience. I loved being there. And I ended up meeting her. She was in the cosmetology program and I was in the fashion program. And we would take the train. So we got to know each other, had to be, really close. Well, she was dating a guy that my current husband, Frank, was playing football with at his high school.
Okay.
And they got married right out of high school. She was a year ahead of me. So the summer that I had, was pregnant with Todd, she married.
Oh,
Tom,
wow. Okay.
Her husband. So they lived right by the fashion design school that I had to walk past her parents' house to go to the school. Well, I noticed that they were there one day and I'm like, I'm just going to stop in. Now, at this time, Todd is 15 months old.
Okay.
And Tom and Debbie were there visiting her mom, her dad, and they were like, what are you doing tonight? And I was all dressed up,
Yeah.
And he's like, they were telling me about this guy named Frank because he had also given his life to Christ through the Fellowship of Christian Athletes at Baldwin Wallace. He was playing football there, and they had just won the national championship.
Wow.
And he got to play under Coach Tressel's dad.
Oh,
Lee Tressel,
wow.
the legendary Lee Tressel.
Yes.
And so it was a big deal. They had just won the national championship at BW. And anyway, I was hearing about this Frank guy. So privately, we were both sharing how God had been changing our lives with our friends.
Yes.
And so they were like, you guys got to meet each other. You need to meet our friend Frank and you need to meet our friend. Well, I heard about him, but we never. So Tom picked up the phone. I can remember him doing that in Debbie's mom's kitchen, the wall phone that was on the wall.
Yes.
Probably dialing.
Right.
Still dialing. I don't even know if it was a punch one yet.
Oh my gosh.
But he called Frank, and he had just walked in from bringing his stuff home from BW for the summer, May 30th. So he said, Frank, what are you doing tonight? You're going to go on a date, and we're going to bring this, blah, blah, blah. They set it all up. So we picked Frank up that night, and my parents were, I didn't make a habit of unloading my responsibilities to my parents, I'm like, do you mind? And, so anyway, I met Frank that night, and we obviously hit it off.
Yes.
and we are coming up on 40. We were married. We were planning a longer engagement, but Frank broke his leg going into the football season that sophomore year. We're planning a longer engagement. But the way God works, and you have plans, and then there's God's plan.
Yes.
And he interrupted our plan, and Frank was, there was a strong bond that was beginning to grow with Frank and Todd, and he was calling him Frankie, which he could only say Rinky. And he said, I cannot have this child calling me Rinky for 2 years. And
I love that.
So he goes, I think we need to scrap our plan. We just need to get married. Let's just do this, and we'll figure it out as we go.
Okay, so tell us times.
Yeah,
like how long
so
are you
that
talking?
was August. Broke his leg going into the first scrimmage of the season. On August 11th, he proposed to me.
But you started dating in
May 30th.
Okay. Wow.
Yes. Okay. So now we're only like 3 months in, right?
Love this.
And yes, but we knew, we just knew. We knew there was no not knowing. There was never a second,
Yes.
It's like, you had me at hello.
Yes. Yes.
And we, I think we just understood without understanding the theology behind it, the providential hand of God.
Absolutely.
Did that. That orchestrated that.
Yes.
So, so I got to work planning a wedding. We decided on December 29th.
Okay.
And so before that year was out, we were husband and wife. Then, and then life happened.
Yes.
The following winter, going into winter, 10 months later, we had a little girl, Ace. And then we had, a bazillion kids after her. God, one of the stories I love to tell about our first child together. And, Todd is the only, Frank is the only father that Todd knew.
Yes.
And sort of like, we'll get to our story with Courteney, but the Lord took me back to that same room at Fairview Hospital in Fairview, Ohio, where Frank grew up. And I was a single mom, and here I am 2-3 years later now. Oh,
the same hospital.
The same hospital, yes, where I had Todd.
Then you had Grace.
Yeah. And it was a whole God experience. Yeah. And I remember looking over the Metro Park window. Frank was not there yet. Here I am holding this sweet little baby and asking the Lord for her name.
Yes.
And it came to me immediately, and I was just overwhelmed with God's grace that you would, you really do have a future and a hope beyond anything we could ask or imagine, that God does above and beyond. Yeah. And so I began to see the healing and the restoration and the redemption of God's story being played out in my own personal life. And, then of course we went on to have 6 more children together. Yes. And we have 24 grandchildren, one 25, one is with Jesus. And then my oldest son, Todd, has, he's a grandpa now with his stepdaughter, and she has 2.
Okay.
2 little boys.
Wow.
So there's a lot of little people in our life, big people now. We have adult grandchildren. And so, that's kind of the long story short.
Amazing. I love
sort of
it.
short.
I love it. I haven't heard your story like that many details, like about Frank and stuff, like probably since we first met 25 years ago, and, but, one thing I was thinking as you were sharing was just probably how, like, I think our stories are so similar in so many ways, but yet, like, just your parents, like, listening to you say, like, how good they were to you as a teen mom. And, like, that's something that's been, hard for me as a teen mom, was just like looking at, the challenges that came from lack of support.
Sure.
And so, so I just think of that, and I love your parents, and, and they've always been so incredible. But like, even that, like, just maybe for someone who's listening who, doesn't understand the teen mom experience, but like maybe just even share how helpful that was, like, because you really did a good job, I think, explaining, like, and you use the word like humiliation, like, I think it's, we see the end result, right? Of like, oh, Betsy with her 8 kids, and look at what God's redeemed. But it's so easy to forget, like, I mean, truly just how devastating it is. And especially when there's that faith piece, like both of us growing up in the church, in, in like Christian homes, I feel like there's even a more exaggerated shame and humiliation and all of that. But,
well, I can tell you that, I think the grace that you've been given, you are able to understand, and you have a level of compassion, that only if you've been there. And my mother was a teen mom also.
I don't know if I remember that.
It's and that's her story. They have their own story, but that is, and I think God saved their marriage, because they were divorced and remarried. They had a very rocky, rough start.
Wow.
But I saw God's grace and mercy that, kind of held us together as a family. My dad became a Christian later in our life. I think I was about 9 or 10 years old. He got hit by a car and broke his hip. And, the Lord used that to kind of bring him to a place. My mom had already been walking with the Lord for some time. And I can just, that experience of just seeing her every morning, listening to WCRF Christian radio with Bob Devine and right up the street here. I mean, not far from where you live. Here, and hearing Johnny Erickson Tata, every morning, giving her story, and watching my mom read her Bible, and seeing God use her to, show his love to me. And it was a model of God's unmerited favor, right?
Yes.
And so I'm so grateful for my mom and dad, and, for the compassionate, and there's something about having a baby around too. They fell in love with Todd, and, he was a huge integral, and still is a major, but they had a tremendous amount of influence, and of giving us that stability to get our feet on the ground, and watch what God would want to do, So
beautiful. Wow. I don't remember that about your mom. I forgot that, or maybe I didn't know that she was a teen mom, but
I could talk a lot about my mom. She's a great lady.
But that's incredible. That's incredible. Wow. That's awesome. So 8 kids.
A lot of people.
That's a lot.
A lot of moving parts.
Yes. Yeah. We were just looking when Betsy came over this morning. So we were just looking at pictures that she brought from my wedding. And we were just looking at how like little and young her kids, some of them were little, some of them were not little, but like, I mean, it's just incredible, like a 25-year relationship, and how your kids they're all adults now and have all those grandbabies, and it's incredible. But so tell us about your journey then with YoungLives.
Sure.
Because again, I always share my story of the first time I met you. But I think in the last couple of years, I think the thing God has really impressed on my heart has been, walking into that abortion clinic, preparing to go to that abortion clinic, feeling like you're doing it in secret. I told my mom, and she went with me to the abortion clinic, but like, you think nobody knows you're there. And I think the thing God has really brought to my mind that I really don't think I had thought a lot about, was just like you were praying for me. You didn't know me. I didn't know you.
That's right.
But somebody was praying for me.
Yeah.
And that's like really impacted me so much these last few years, because I think it's like, you know, as I've grown in my faith over the years, I think you do start to look at God's hand long before you were seeing the outcomes. Like he was there in those places. He was there those days prior, right? Like he was working on your heart for teen moms and preparing your heart. Where I think for so many years, it just felt like, oh, okay, this friend of mine from high school came to my house and wanted me to meet this lady, you know, and it felt like the story started there in that moment where really I would love for you to just share. No, it actually started before
Way
that.
Before that.
Yes. So tell us about that.
Gosh. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to share a quote from Corrie ten Boom that has always just meant so much to me. I think she said this in her book, The Hiding Place, but it's, she says, memories are not a bridge to the past, but to the future. For I know that our experiences, when we allow God to use them, become the mysterious and perfect work that he will call us to do. And little did I know, while I was raising my brood of 8 and, you know, being a coach's wife, my husband was in the education field, and then he went on to direct the Fellowship of Christian Athletes here in Ohio for a great number of years. And so we were a ministry family. God was using our story in just different ways. But I was, you know, pretty much a full-time mom and had a little sewing business on the side while they were, you know, growing up. And then I did some admin work. And so, you know, you have these, I think one of the messages is just to be faithful and trust God where you are. I was just plodding along, but little, with no knowledge of what God was preparing for me down the road. And it came time for Frank was kind of going through a transition and really felt like the Lord was leading him away from FCA. And during that time, we met our Young Life. Well, we were friends with them before through youth ministry, but our Young Life friend, Randy Nickel, who approached Frank and I about coming on staff with Young Life. And he said, and so, you know, this was all like a new career, you know, just a different youth ministry for Frank. And he goes, oh, and by the way, there's this mentoring program. It's not very big in Young Life. It's called Mentor Moms. Would Betsy be interested in starting that in Cleveland? And he said, yes, she would. Yes, she would. And I was like, hey, hold on a second. Put the brakes on. What? Wait, I think. And so obviously, long story short, that's exactly what God was doing and leading me to start the Teen Mom Ministry in Cleveland called Mentor Moms. It is now a global ministry, and we were able to be a part of, well, that comes a little bit later. Let's just stay with the local ministry that got going here in Cleveland. And I just knew that the Lord had called me, that this was a new season and a new chapter of my life. My kids were getting older, and there was no doubt in my mind that, you know, he had made me for this moment. And I remember my first day in my old sunroom, which has now been remodeled into our master bath. But I was sitting there at my desk, and it was my first day on staff with Young Life. And I just had my Bible open, and I prayed, and I said, Lord, I don't know what we're doing, but I know you do. So here I am. Send me, and I'm ready. Let's do this. And not even 5 minutes later, my phone rang, and it was our friend Josh. And I got that call from Josh, and he said, Mrs. Stretar, he goes, I have a really good friend. I heard you just started this ministry for teen moms in Cleveland. He goes, she could really use a friend right now. She's, would you be okay if you could meet with her? And I'm like, okay, Lord, this is it. Here we go.
Yeah.
And so God, like he did that. Faithful is he who calls you, and he will do it. And he meant for our lives and our paths to cross those many years ago. And little did we know, right? The journey that he would put us on together.
Yeah.
And I remember, we walked and we met and we had lunch together at the cooker. That was our spot.
Yes, it was.
And,
yes.
Just to be able to walk alongside you but I knew the day I met you that God's hand was on your life and that there was a story being told in your life that was also, just as it was in mine.
Yeah.
And I knew that it was way bigger than either of us could see, but we didn't know.
We didn't
at the time.
We didn't.
How big and how awesome our God is to know the journey and the trials and the hardship and the ministry opportunities.
Yes.
None of that was yet written.
No. So we had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's just a reminder, I guess, like to those who are listening who haven't, heard my story. I know most of you probably have because I talk about it and share about it a lot. But, I had just been in an abortion clinic 3-4 days before my friend Josh, who Betsy just referred to, showed up at my house. I mean, he didn't even call. He showed up at my house and said, my girlfriend's mom, so he was dating Betsy's oldest daughter, Grace. My girlfriend's mom is starting a Christian support group for teen moms. Would you meet her? And I mean, and even in those few days of having left that abortion clinic, like, I felt like I was so desperate for just friendship, help, and hope. I hope, all of it, like, I had no idea truly like what I needed. But God knew. Yeah. And I had just met Christ in that abortion clinic. So literally, I mean, the day I met with you, it's like, I probably had been a Christian for a week. Yeah. Again, raised as a church kid, but not a follower of Jesus. And I know from my perspective, like meeting you that day, which it's funny because we were just talking recently and we just got together. We always do the whole, we need to get together. And then,
we actually did.
So it's weird. Like, so we're seeing each other 2 times in the last month, right? But when we were together just a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about our ages. And how old were you when we met? Then in 2000?
So I would have been 40.
40. Yeah. Okay. And I was saying to Betsy, I was like, you were so much more mature than I was. I'm 43. And I feel like I was not like who she was when I met her. Like I just added all, like, just seemed it probably
life
comes
experience.
It probably comes with
raising
kids. Yes.
The 8 crazy. That's a whole nother.
Yes. But I know the one thing, I had never heard of Young Life. And I just shared that in my last podcast because I just went off staff with Young Life after 8 years, but I never heard of Young Life, had no idea what it was. But that didn't matter to me. Like, all I knew was there was this woman sitting across the table from me saying, like, I'm going to love you and I'm going to walk alongside you. And then, like, hearing you had 8 kids, like, I just remember just thinking like, why? Like, why you, how and why? Like you have 8 kids. How do you have time for me? How do you, why would you have time for me? Right. But, and I also, one of the things you said to me to that day that was really life-changing. Cause I remember at that point, like, there was still a lot of pressure on me to then put Courteney up for adoption. So, I'd found out in that abortion clinic that I was 6 months pregnant. God intervened that day, literally kept me from having that abortion and saved Courtney's life. And that's when I surrendered my life to Jesus, because I just knew I had just seen the hand of God. It was undeniable.
Yes.
And but there was a lot of pressure on me because I was a week away from leaving for college. And so my family would I think they just had that mentality of like, you have to go away to school. You have to go away to school. And so they wanted me to put the baby up for adoption. But I remember you just saying, did you ever just think God wants you to have this baby? And I don't know if you even remember saying that, but it, like, for me to think that, again, I think coming from a really legalistic Christian background, it felt wrong to think that. Like that God would want me to have this baby.
Yeah.
And that's
that he
so
might
sad.
have a plan.
Right?
And that he might have a plan.
It's such a like warped view of like Jesus and God and like who he is, right? But it was like, it felt wrong. And I just remember when you said that, I remember it just felt like 1,000 pounds lifted off my shoulder, because I knew like that's like what God was like preparing my heart for, was to like have her and keep her. Yeah. And I think I just needed to hear that. And I remember like walking out of that restaurant today knowing I am going to have this baby and keep this baby. And so that was just life-changing. I mean, that one experience alone was just life-changing.
Well, like I said, to the measure of grace that you've been given, it's very easy, and you can see that for other people. It's often very hard to see that in your own life.
Yeah.
But I understood the overwhelming feeling of shame. You know, in some ways, sitting across that table was like me looking at myself.
Yes.
And like, I didn't have somebody across from me encouraging me on, you know, and I think about that. Like, what if YoungLives didn't exist? Yeah. You know, it didn't exist for me. I didn't have a person, but we can be that person. You know, once God has come in and totally turned everything right side up.
Yep.
But I understood, like I could see, and I understood that that I'm not worthy. I'm not. Why? You said why? Why would God want to use my life and this baby and this story? But that's what hope does. It brings the gospel. It makes it very personal and very real and tangible. It's like, that's where our faith comes in. Just trust him.
Yes.
That he is, it is possible. Yes. And then when you know that, it's like, I remember that feeling like I have no idea how this is going to play out, but God, I believe you. Yeah. Yeah. Something crazy is going on in my heart and in my spirit that says I can trust you. Yes. And let's go. But it does take, I think God has to heal, that is a place of, we see the effects of sin and the brokenness of our own heart and our lives and our, all the things. Yes. And then when God comes into the story, he's able to then put that back together and redeem every part of it, of our story.
Yeah. So. No, that's an important point to make. And that's not something I talk about a lot, but I feel like, and I'm sure you could name a gazillion ways where you saw, like, this is not how God intends this to be. Like, you see, when you're a teen mom, you see so much brokenness, right? Yes. And again, I think it's easy for people to look at our lives, right, and go, oh my gosh. But like
your sin is kind of out there. Like, it is. And we all struggle. We're all born into the fallen world. We're all sinners, right? We're all sinners in need of a savior. Yep.
I remember a lady at
you can't
the
hide
church.
it.
No,
There's
right.
no
I
hiding
remember
it.
a lady at my church saying, it's the sin everybody could see. And that she was saying it to comfort me, you know, like all of us struggle with sin, but this is one just everyone can see. But I do think it's important to say, like, you know, there was a repentance. I mean, there had to have been for both of us, right? Like, just recognizing this is why God says to save sex for marriage and have babies with your husband.
That's right.
You know, and it's just his grace that comes in and just redeems what's broken. I remember one of the first books I read as a new Christian, brand new Christian. It was written by Kay Arthur, and she was just teaching so beautifully on the sovereignty of God. And I was, even as a Christian, a new Christian, like I was dealing with so much still that guilt, right? It doesn't just go away because you know Jesus, like you have to work through those things with him. And I just remember her writing in one of her books, like, even the consequences of our sin get filtered through his hands of love. And that just has carried me through 25 years of knowing Jesus, right? Because there's things I've seen, I mean, even up until Courteney dying, I mean, there were still things I was going through with like her birth father and different things where it's like, you just look at this and you're just like, oh Lord, like you've been so good, you've been so faithful, but you still see
the ramifications of it.
Yes. But to know and trust that even in the brokenness, even in sin, that God is still so faithful and so good.
Yeah.
And
well, the beautiful part of that is that God is with us in it.
He is. Yes.
And yes, it's there. And, but even you just get to kind of watch it. And so that healing is like, it's that, that forgiveness and that redemption is available every day to us to take hold of. And, you know, whenever the enemy starts coming in to throw lies or half truths or any type of, you know, it's like, you know, we just have to come back to the point of the foot of the cross and say, Lord, just meet me here. And he does. And he's,
so good. So going back to the cooker. You were there because you shared that verse with me that we talked about. And I could totally relate when you said like how you believed that when God spoke that to you. And I remember that feeling that day. So maybe share what you said to me that day with that verse.
Yeah, I think the scripture speaks for itself, but when you are like, when you've lived it, and now I have the fruit of that life that God has redeemed and restored, and he has given me these 8 incredible, a husband that loves me, a marriage that is grounded on Christ, kids that are thriving and coming to know the Lord and, you know, encountering him at Young Life Camp. I mean, 3 of our kids met their spouses in Young Life.
That's amazing. Awesome.
Yeah. And so I think looking at you that day and just recalling those words, and, you know, I don't know how it went exactly, but I probably said something like, Christine, sweetheart, God knows the plan he has for you. It's a good plan, a plan not to harm you, to prosper you, to give you a future and a hope. And I could believe that for you. And you had to take that and receive that from God in your own heart. But I remember it being like, it's right there in front of you. Trust me when I say he can do above and beyond all that you ask or imagine. And he can take this mess, because it feels messy. It's a mess. Let's just call it what it is. And he meets us, and like, now that's your starting place. Just watch him. Watch what he's going to do. Just watch, Christine. I mean, that's probably what I would say now. Like, just watched.
Right.
Now we have
Right.
the hindsight to look to see what, my goodness, what he has done in your story.
Yes.
And a year later, you know, the Lord called me to go to serve on Young Life staff as the first national director. And that was a whole new, you know, I was happy just to get this little ministry going in Cleveland, which is still going 25 years later.
Yes.
And we'll be celebrating 35 years of ministry to teen moms in Young Life. I'm just kind of a volunteer in the mix now. But, you know, I had the privilege of knowing Mary Somerville, who got this ministry off the ground, and the committee that was in Tulare County out in California that was praying like, Lord, help us. Who do you want us to go after? And you know what he said? I want you to go after those teen moms across the street in that high school. And God raised up this pastor's wife, Mary Somerville, that I have had the privilege of knowing and being blessed by her own mentorship in my life. And then being able to pick up the baton where she left it as Young Life, you know, was kind of ready to take it to a whole new level and get this going across the country. And now it's global. And
do you know how many countries it's in?
I do.
Okay.
Because I'm on that planning team. So I know these things.
It's incredible.
35 countries, 35,000 teen moms being reached worldwide. They just hired 3 divisional coordinators in Africa alone, one part of Africa. But, you know, I got to be the bricklayer and the foundation layer and just kind of get the foundation in place for it to thrive and move forward. But look at what God has done once again. Like we play our little part in watching, and how like only Jesus. I read this morning, like thinking about that woman at the well, that Jesus went to the well to wait for her. Yes. Like he was there, like he knew she was going to come, and how he pursues us. Yeah. He wants us. Yeah. He wants to show the world what his healing, what he came for, to forgive and to renew and restore and make whole. Yeah. And we get to do that. Yes. And live out his purposes and his plan for us, and watch him use our stories now to, you know, encourage others that are in those hard, dark places that need hope, that need love, that need encouragement, that need Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's incredible though. 35 countries. Yeah. And I love seeing on like Instagram, Facebook, when they'll like do clips of the teen mom ministry in other countries. Like I just love seeing international Young Life. Like it just does something incredible when you see these other countries. And it's just so like, I'm even just reflecting so much on the ministry, you know, recently with leaving staff. I mean, I just am like, who else is doing this? Who else is going after these teen moms? Yeah. I mean, the cool thing, just for those of you listening who don't know Young Life, you may have heard me talk about it a lot, but like, you know, Betsy, for me and Betsy, it kind of happened a little backwards where it's like someone said, will you meet this lady? But the reality is these Young Life leaders, these, you know, people who are on staff doing the teen mom ministry, like you said perfectly, they're going to these moms. I mean, that is the ministry of Young Life. Like we don't wait for kids to come to us. Yeah. We're going to them, pursuing them, doing that incarnational relational ministry that Jesus did for us. Yeah, it's like he,
just
you know,
do that. Whatever he did, do that.
That's simple. But it's so unique, right? It's so unique. The model of Young Life, but it's so effective. Yeah. And I'm just like so humbled and simultaneously like so proud to have been a part of something that's just doing something that a lot of ministries aren't doing. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like I feel like this is almost like the marginalized of the marginalized, like the teen moms. 100%.
Sure.
And I think a lot of times, we said it so perfect, like it's so messy.
Yeah.
It's so messy that people a lot of times don't know how to enter in, don't know how the heck God's going to make good of this.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times it's scary. And so people don't enter in then. And
in the training, it's like, it's okay. That's not you just walk alongside them, be there with them, love them through whatever they're going through. And maybe we talk about that day that I met you at the day that Courteney was born.
Yes.
Yeah, that was quite a day.
It was.
I mean, I don't know if you want to transition there yet.
No. That's totally. That's so good. That's so good. I've said a lot when I've had these conversations about, just my story. And, when I've shared about you on this podcast, it's like, I'm being 3.5 years out from Courteney passing away. I know a lot of you guys have heard me say, like, Betsy was there, 25 years ago now, but when Courteney was born, she was there at the hospital the day Courteney was born, and you were there at the hospital 21 years later, the day she died. And I love sharing that because it just shows, oops, turn that off. I should have had that muted. But it just shows that this is not just a program. Yeah. That this was a relationship, like a true relationship that God built. And, but I remember the day Courteney was born. And so I had no idea she was going to have challenges when she was born. I'll let you share.
Yeah. So I remember that you called me that morning and you're like, I'm going in. And I'm like, yay. Well, I can't wait to hear the news, and call me as soon as, she's born so I can come down. A couple hours went by, and then this was like, I think you called me around 7 or 7:30 that morning. And so I know by like 11 o'clock or noon-ish, something in my spirit was like, just go. Like, she hasn't called me yet, but I'm just going to go. Like, I just I want to be there. And I really felt prompted by the Lord to go. And I remember coming up to the hospital, making my way to your room, and then they greeted me at the door and took me into your room. And I walked in, and your family, you were there, and your mom and dad were there, your brother was there, your sister was there, and I walked into
chaos.
It was fear. Just horrible fear and confusion and not knowing what was going on. And I said, what's happening? And you said they whisked her away. They took her. I don't know. And I remember we gathered around you, and we prayed. And we said, Lord, intervene. Bring your presence into this situation, into this, Lord, we don't know what's going on, but you do. Yeah. And so, Father, we trust you. You're in control. Like, we're looking to you. Be with the doctors. Remember we prayed for all those things. Yeah. And then we found out our sweet little girl had some complications. Yeah. But the specialist saved her life. Yeah. And got in there and did what they had to do, but wasn't without ramifications of her. Yeah. What would be her story.
Yes. Yeah. I remember that day. And, I can vividly picture that moment you walked into that room, and that fear is a great word to describe it. I just remember feeling the chaos of it. the unknown, of course, fear, just nobody knowing what to do. And I'm not trying to say this in like idolized way, but just to put it in perspective of like, you walked into that room and you were just controlled by the Holy Spirit and like just spoke peace in the midst of chaos, truth in the midst of fear. I don't know if we would have stopped and prayed that day, like had you not walked into that room. And so it was just another moment where God like used you to just be in that moment with me and with my family. So that was a really
it was an honor. It was a real privilege and an honor for me to be there in that and to, it's like God, it's beyond me how he, puts people in the right place at the right time, knowing just the right thing that we need.
Well, just even you said like the prompting of just, I'm going to go. I need to be there. I mean, God knew like you needed to be in that room in that moment, and that's so beautiful when you realize how,
and I knew
every detail.
And I knew it when Courteney, when she was taking her last few breaths on this light on this earth too. I knew it only because now we have this history. And I remember dragging you to every Young Life event. You would fly out to California and start exposing you to Capernaum and, watching like your story start to begin to, as the Lord was healing you and taking you on it. We have a long history now. We have 25 years of history that
so
I've
much.
watched you grow and mature and blossom. God use you. And I remember telling our friend Nick Palermo, Nick, look at what God is doing here. Like just what a gift, that you have been to, as you wrap up your season with Young Life and now God's writing a new chapter. I just want to say, thank you for your faithfulness and for serving the disabled community and the way that you have and allowing God into your story and use you. You have no idea, and only heaven will be able to expose the countless lives that you have touched, my friend.
Thank you.
And Courteney, I mean, now she is, in the presence of Jesus and waiting for all of us.
Yes, she sure is. I know. I was actually thinking back when I did my last podcast about leaving staff, and I was just kind of sharing the story about, getting asked to share my testimony at All Staff in Orlando in 2004. And that's when I met Nick, and Nick just knew. And so Nick Palermo is the guy who founded Young Life Capernaum, which is Young Life's ministry to kids with disabilities back in the 80s in California. And Nick, though, he just knew, and I know you guys were already really tight by that point, and but he just knew like there was going to be this overlap with teen moms and babies with disabilities and kids with disabilities. And so he just really poured into my life and just, I was just really reminiscing about that, and saying like, I could call him right now and be like, Nick, I need encouragement. He'd be like, Christine.
I know.
And he would just speak.
He'd be ready.
Right? He is at any moment. And that's what led me to these last 8 years of getting to do ministry. And he's even led me now. He's doing adult ministry, right? He left Young Life and is now ministering to adults because we know those needs continue. And so he's just been this amazing model. But even thinking back to like that conference in 2004, I was really reminiscing about like hearing Johnny Erickson taught to speak for the first time.
Well, I remember
holding Courteney in my arms.
Yeah.
I had no idea who she was.
Well, I remember calling Denny Rydberg and saying, he said, we'd like to have a teen mom. I go, I got your girl. Like, you got to put her up on stage. And you spoke right before Johnny, and then I
was right after Chuck Olson
came after you.
No, I was after Chuck.
You were after Chuck and then Johnny.
She was like, the keynote.
It was amazing. Yes. But I also want to give a shout out to a brother in Christ that is with the Lord also now. He oversaw all of the specialty ministries. My former supervisor and mentor, Cliff Anderson, who is with Jesus. But he always said that Capernaum and YoungLives where the prophetic heart represented the prophetic heart of God in Young Life ministry.
Yes.
And I believe that 100%. And, because you mentioned earlier about just kind of the furthest out of the furthest out, they're all on the, disabled kids, teen moms, that it's a beautiful ministry, and it is a very hard ministry. Yes. It's a calling that you receive from God it's a beautiful thing when you answer the call, because you get to see God show up in some really incredible ways.
Yes.
And I got to see that over and over again in both ministries.
Yeah. You really do. I mean, it's, and to your point, I mean, it's hard. It's hard ministry. You're dealing with, a lot of atypical things. Like I was even thinking, about our journey together. And I was thinking, Courtney's biological father was there like the day she was born, and then came the day after. And then it was crickets.
I had a very similar situation.
Didn't hear anything. And I remember, everything in me was like, I have to make this work. I have to figure that, like, I need to call him. And my wise friend here, I mean,
be careful what you wish for.
I just remember you saying, don't. Like, if he wants to be a part of this, he will be a part of this. And I'm sharing this, you guys, because I just feel like the teen mom experience just brings, and again, going back to that, this isn't how God intends it to be. And so you are just dealing with chaos and you are, right? I mean, you're just dealing with a lot of chaos, right? A lot of dysfunction, I would say. Because I know when I tell my story, people are just like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, I know, it was so screwed up. It was it just was such a mess. It just felt irredeemable, and it wasn't, but that's how it feels, right? It feels so overwhelming. But I just remember that. I remember you just saying, just don't. And dang, those were some of the hardest months of my life.
Yes, I do remember that.
I mean, it was so painful. It was so hard to just trust God. And so like, I think back to moments like that, and I really do think like, how would I have done that without you? Like, truly, like, how would I have done that without you?
You would have, God would have.
Well, but this is the way you chose for it. Like, this is the help he gave. And it's so precious because you just stop and go like, I was just a kid. I know. Like, I had no idea how to do any of this, And he just was so good and so faithful. And like, had I like pursued that and pushed, and I mean, God was just like, no, I have such a better plan, and like, and you don't know it in that moment. And that's what makes following Jesus so hard so often, right? Is that unknown and just truly having to just trust him. But it's like, then, you fast forward and it's like Dan comes into the story and gets to just step in and be her daddy and everything I was praying for. And I remember even like we dated, and in 3 months we knew we were going to get engaged. And yet we were so scared to tell anyone like we want to be engaged. And I remember talking to you. You know, I remember like, what was it then? 6 months you and Frank were met and married.
Yeah.
7.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, and I remember because you had invited me to start going to your church. So I was going to church at the same church you were going to. And I was really praying for Christian friends when I started going there. I mean, I literally remember walking into that church. Yeah. So I was 7 months pregnant, 18. I mean, and just, I had really left all my friends because, you know, Court's biological father and I had the same friend group. It was messy. Yeah. It was hard. Yeah. And I knew like if I wanted to truly follow Jesus, like God was just calling me away from that life, you know? And so it was like, I was lonely. I was very pregnant. I was all the things. And just, you know, walking into that church and meeting Christian friends. And that's where I met my husband. But just like, I remember saying to you about Dan and me, like we wanted to get engaged. And I was like, well, what if they say no at the church? Like, and I remember you though saying like, well, if they say no, then you submit to the leadership of the church. And I was like, oh, dang. Okay. But like, that just shows you that like godly wisdom and advice that I never would have thought that way as a brand new Christian, a young Christian. Right. And like, but you know, they didn't say no. Yeah. And we were able to get married and all that. But it was like, but I also remember just having
funny that you remember. I don't remember that conversation.
Well, it was just so scary. But there was also like,
but there's a protection, like God's going to protect.
Yeah. Yes.
Kind of the perspective I was having. Trust them that they're seeing something that you're not seeing.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I cannot.
But I had this beautiful example of like, it does happen. You know, of you and Frank. And I remember that the first time I met you, just sitting there and looking at you and going, well, her life seems okay. Like, you know, because everyone basically tells you your life's over. It's going to be a disaster forever. And I'm looking at this beautiful woman who's happily married, working in ministry, has 8 children. And like, God couldn't have given me a more tangible example of his grace, his care, his, you know, provision, his love. And that mattered. And I think like, he just knew I needed all of that, right?
He knew I needed you too. Well, it was a relationship that only, like I said, only he could write, only he could. Yes. And you are a treasured gift in my life. And I'm praying God's blessing on you in your new chapter.
Thank you.
I'm very excited to see what God's going to do and how he's going to continue. To carry you and to use you and Dan and Kevin. And till he calls us home. Right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, tell us, I guess as we wrap up, tell us like what is going on in your life now?
Well, I have been a flight attendant for a major airline for the past, which seems so crazy, right?
So crazy.
Like, I don't know how I ended up here. That's another story for another day. But I'll be retiring in the next couple of years. I'm going to hang on a little bit longer. But my husband and he's getting ready to retire. And we're looking forward to that chapter. We fly and buzz around to touch base with different grandkids that are no longer living here in the area. Yeah. So that's been fun. And I've been really excited to be serving on the 35-year story weekend for YoungLives. And we'll be celebrating 35 years of Teen Mom Ministry and Young Life next November.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So having fun, kind of just gathering stories.
Well, and Young Life doesn't do anything not with excellence and not big. If there's one thing I know about the ministry of Young Life, it is any celebration is going to be big and beautiful and done with excellence.
It'll be fun.
That's awesome. You get to be a part of that.
Yeah, it is.
So cool.
It's a great. I was able to have the opportunity this past summer to Mary Somerville, the founder, and then Carol Connor, who is the current global director for YoungLives.
Okay.
We were able to shoot some video and reminisce and tell some stories of how YoungLives, those early years. So that was really fun. And just to see, I think, it's it's going to be a celebration, but also a call to continue. There's so much to do and so many Betsy's and Christine's out there that need to hear about Jesus, and they need men and women. And now YoungLives is reaching the dad, which I'm so excited about. So it was just something that we were praying about 25 years ago. Yes. If just imagine what could happen if God did a miracle in that those adolescent parents and healing that and using them and, like having a family that is now rooted and established in Christ.
Oh, yeah.
How wonderful is that? So, I would just ask your listeners to pray for YoungLives, pray that we will go into this next decade with great vision and that we can reach more young men and women. They'll come to know Jesus as their Savior and begin their watching their stories and chapters unfold as God does His miraculous work that He's so good at.
I love that. Oh, I love hearing about the dads. That's so important. So great? Yeah. It's kind of interesting, like it's taken this long to even have that mindset. I mean, it makes so much sense. I mean, it's a family or trying to restore that. But yes, that's awesome. So I guess leave us with, if somebody's listening to this, because you all know, and I know I shared this when I was at the abortion clinic this year, like it is incredible to be, advocates for the unborn. But we also have to recognize that these precious moms, that they are just confused and desperate and broken. And so I always want to put out there, if you want to be a part of this ministry, and it could even be, now that I don't work for them, I could say it easily, hey, write a check, write a big check, right? These ministries, they're raising every penny of their budgets to do what Betsy did in my life 25 years ago. That was not volunteer, like you were on staff, right? And so you're relying on generous donors to give, right? So if you can't be a part of something hands-on, prayerfully consider, is this something God's calling me to be a monthly donor to, right? But maybe tell people, like, if they're listening, I mean, you said this is global, right?
Yes,
so I mean, there's YoungLives all over the country. So you could be, we have it here in Cleveland.
We do.
But it's pretty much, I'm sure, in every state. I mean, everything all over the world.
Yes, it is grown exponentially. Yeah, we have some lofty goals of raising $3.5 million or more. Because, God goes above and beyond all we ask or imagine. And so if there's anyone that wants to sponsor this event, we have different levels of sponsorship. You can go to younglives.org.
Okay.
Is that right? Yeah.
I'll put it in the show notes too.
There
we'll double check, but
And, I can make sure you have the right information to pass along.
Yeah.
But we are really have, there's some big goals out there and big dreams that to be able to come alongside and bring more support to more areas and more staff and more volunteers. And obviously that takes a generous amount of resources for us to be able to, have the kind of impact that we hope to. So thank you for asking. And we're believing and trusting God to do great things.
Yes. Well, I'll put the website in the show notes. The other thing I would say is, if you're listening and you're like, man, I would love to know if this is in the area I live in. just reach out to me. You can message me through my website, ChristineBoyle.com, and just send me a message and I will help you get connected if this is something that you are interested in serving in. It's definitely a volunteer-led ministry for the most part. I mean, besides some staff, right? In the areas, there's typically volunteers that are doing the actual hands-on mentorship and ministry. So they always need help. I know that.
Well, and not just that. I think it's a different kind of volunteer. I do see the people that God calls to this ministry as a calling, because it is that life on life, that's where the magic happens. We don't come along to fix, change. You just kind of come in, and if you have the capacity to love another human being and to come alongside and offer your time and your prayer, that's the person that usually God calls that is the most effective, because it's messy.
Yes.
But we're in it for the long haul.
Yes. Yes.
And we are proof of that.
Yes.
I love you.
Love you too. Thank you so much for being on, for sharing your story. I know finally, a year or two later, we finally did it, but so good. So good to be with you. And thanks you guys for listening. It was such a joy to get to do this finally with Betsy, get to share our story. I hope it was a great encouragement to you of just how faithful God is. I mean, truly, at the end of the day, that's all this is. It's like Betsy said, it's a story that God has written that none of us could have written or predicted in any way, but he is just so good and so faithful. And he redeems the things that are broken. That's what he does best. So thanks for listening, and I will see you next time on Invited In. And check out those show notes for more information. Thanks, Betsy. Hope in the future. Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Bye. Take care, guys.
Friends, thank you so much for joining me today on Invited In. It's always such a gift to get to be with you. Don't forget to follow and subscribe, and visit ChristineBoyle.com to have me speak at your next event. Take care, guys.